G'day, I'm Ride, your Chief Espresso Officer, and today I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to talk to you about the news that's going on in the coffee world. So if this is something that you find interesting, let me know below in the comments, and then we can continue to make this maybe every week. But I'm going to look at some of the interesting articles that I've come across this week and give you my opinion on it and talk to you about it. And I'd love to hear your comments on it too. All right, so let's get into the very first thing which I found, which I think is a ridiculous announcement. This is for all of us people living in Australia. Kohls Express, which is a petrol station owned by Kohls. For those of you in America, you'll know this as Walmart. It's basically the same thing. They have announced that they won Product of the Year for their instant coffee that they sell in their petrol station. So you press a button, you get your cappuccino there. Not only that, but they won a second Product of the Year award for their ground coffee bags at 200 grams of dark ground coffee. This is ridiculous to me because Kohls is not a specialty coffee place. You don't think, I'm gonna buy some great coffee, I'll go to the supermarket because they'll have the best there. Or I'll go to the petrol station, the servo, and get my instant coffee there, and it's gonna taste fantastic. I don't understand how they won this Product of the Year award. If their people that use Kohls are the only people that voted for this product, then Australia has a bigger problem because we consider ourselves to be one of the greatest coffee drinking nations in the world, that we're ahead of the rest. And yet, the coffee that won the Product of the Year was from a servo. I don't get it. Anyway, let's put my opinions aside and let's test it on our actual customers. Here you can see some of the reactions we got from putting their coffee in our coffee cups and giving them to some of our unsuspicious customers. If you want to watch the video, we'll have it released in full later on, but for now you can just see this little clip.
Do I have to?
Do you have to?
Do I get paid for this? That's that is awful.
Not as big of a fan.
Not only that, if you look closely, you'll see they won this award for next year. It hasn't even happened yet. I mean, why not give them the award for the decade 2030 to 2040? I mean, if we're going into the future, I want to win the 2100 year century-long coffee win award, please, because it hasn't happened yet, and so by that stage, certainly no one better will have come along. Next up, I got a report that a lady going by the name of Caroline Karanya in Kenya has been impersonating ICO officials and defrauding farmers and washing station and producers of thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm talking like $150,000 so far. ICO is International Coffee Organization, and they actually deal with intergovernmental agencies to export, import, and get through all of those hurdles to tackle all of those difficult situations that we face in the coffee export-import industry. I don't understand what this woman was thinking. She was going around Kenya signing up washing stations and getting people to pay money, partial money, to get funding for their rebuilding coffee service or facilities. It's pretty disgraceful, actually, if you ask me, that she's targeting people who don't have money. Already farmers don't have enough money to actually produce and make ends meet. And yet she's going after these people, pretending and to be someone she's not, and taking more of their money. I mean, if you're gonna rip people off, at least rip off some of the big players who have all the money in the world, not your poor farmers and washing stations in Kenya who can barely make ends meet. It's disgusting. I hope she gets put in jail, but actually maybe she should be made to produce coffee on one of these farms by herself for free for the rest of her life. Probably at least doing something good. Our next story is by Fair Trade, which have done a report on the global effects of climate change and how the farmers, the coffee farmers themselves, are at most risk of being affected by climate change. This comes in a report from Brazil. Obviously, we already know that Brazil just got decimated by a whole bunch of frost that killed off about 11% of the entire crop in Brazil. Now, Brazil, for those of you who don't know, is actually the largest exporter of coffee globally, with about 30% of the entire market. So it's pretty devastating to know that now that Brazil's been wiped out, not only by COVID and suffering those fallouts from COVID, but also by global warming. So what does this mean? This means that over time, and I've been saying this for a few years now, that coffee is either going to go two ways. One, we run out. That's a dire thing. I hope no one ever gets to that point where you can't have an actual coffee every day. The other is that a cup of coffee costs you about $100 per cup, which is also not a great outcome. So the problem that we've already seen is that coffee has skyrocketed to a 7-year high. And over the next 4 years, it's going to be pretty rocky for a lot of those farmers around the world, which is why I think it's important to raise this awareness so that everyone understands that coffee, it's not like just your fuel that get you started in the day. It should really be considered as a luxury item, and a lot more care to going into how it's processed and where it's processed, and funding it in the right way so that everyone can enjoy a cup of coffee without having to pay a $100 price. All right, our next story goes back to us in Australia, to Zetland in Sydney. Delonghi have opened up their first global, worldwide coffee lounge. And that's a coffee lounge where people can go in, try out coffee machines, learn how to become a home barista. They run cupping courses there. They run some training nights, understanding about roasting, understanding about how to get the best out of your coffee machine. I think this is a fantastic idea. However, Delonghi is not really known for its fantastic coffee machines. Definitely known for its automated ones. They're the sort of ones that you'll see around the place where you just press a button and your coffee comes out. However, when you're talking about specialty coffee and really understanding how to become a home barista, Delonghi, it seems like a weird combination to put Delonghi in with a coffee lounge. If it had been someone like Lamazocco, Rancilio, even San Marco, any of the original Italian brands doing it, but Delonghi just makes me think appliances. And so I don't really feel like I'm going to learn that much if I go to a Delonghi coffee lounge. However, it's a great introduction and I think it could do really well. But again, Australia, we're supposed to be considering ourselves as the highest of the world's coffee upper echelon. This kind of makes us look like we don't know what we're doing. And the last piece of news I have for you this week, at least, is from Finland, where a company has invented coffee in a lab. They've actually come up with a way to create from the cell of the plant itself, turn it into a liquid with actual caffeine in it, flavor in it, and this could change the way that we view coffee. Obviously, it's just in the early days, and Finland is the biggest consumer of coffee per capita in the world, so they obviously know what they're talking about when it comes to drinking coffee. Not that the coffee's great, but if they can create a new way of growing coffee that doesn't require a whole lot of expense and doesn't use up a lot of resources, then this could be really interesting. They've actually discovered that they can affect and manipulate the amount of caffeine that goes into each coffee, the tastes, the flavors, and potentially how long it lasts for. So this is something to really watch because I'm excited about this. I really want to try some. I've tried some synthetic coffee before, so the Kopi Luwak one. It wasn't very tasty. So if they can perfect it to become a specialty grade coffee where it actually tastes the same sweetness and nuance that a regular coffee that we get from, say, Honduras or Brazil, if they can perfect that flavor, then I think this has really got legs. And hopefully this takes a lot of the pressure off the farmers themselves to have to produce a huge amount of coffee each year, and they can start to work and help in facilities that create more supplement to the coffee industry. Anyway, that's it for my coffee news this week. If you liked any of the information that I've provided to you this week and you want to hear more, please let me know in the comments. If you disagree with many of my opinions, please, again, take me on. I'm happy to stand behind my opinions, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the news that I've brought this week. And if you like this segment, we may introduce it again next week. I'm Ryan, Chief Espresso Officer, and as always, enjoy your brew.